Hello everybody. For those of you who do not know, I am local Tico Brohe. I stream Dragon's Dogma. Today I am bringing you another Magick Archer no-hit run. This time we are doing a full run, which means we're going to go into Midnight Helix and Pilgrim's Gauntlet, Word of Regret, rooms that aren't required on the critical path. Important things about our gear setup. We have the Grave Claws with the buff that extends durations of buffs on us. That's going to make our Magic Rebalancer last longer. Skills-wise, nothing particularly exciting. Augments, we have stability, so that wing flaps from dragons do not stagger us, because we count those as a hit. To begin, as always, we're going to want a Magic Rebalancer. Staying buffed up is super important. If we are missing our buff, we just do less damage. If we kill things fast, they can't hit us. It's valuable. I'm going to comment on some important decisions to this area, some important thoughts I have. I'm going to try not to ramble the whole time, but just want to thank you guys for watching, and hope you enjoy the video. Now, beginning, I already see we have Saurian. There is a Siren in here, which is the only real concern. Saurian configuration means death is our random encounter. For those of you who are not aware, when fighting death, death will flee after you do about a health bar's worth of damage. It doesn't quite have to be a full health bar. Whenever you're getting close to a health bar, he'll choose to flee, typically. He stuck around for a good while there. Two configurations in Duskmoon Tower: Fire Drake with Hellhounds and Thunder Wyvern with Gargoyles. We prefer Hellhounds because the Gargoyles can kind of fly up over the balcony at different angles and hit us. We don't want that. Hellhounds can really only come at us from one direction, so we prefer that. And we get Hellhounds. There are 5 Hellhounds specifically that we need to kill. The music generally does not change until the Hellhounds are aggroed, so we can kind of determine whether we're safe based off of that. Once the music kicks in, we need to be vigilant about aiming our bow down the stairs to get any Hellhounds, though. And it just kicked in, so you'll see me get a little bit closer, start aiming that direction. And drop a Shadowshackle just in case one runs up while we're shooting the dragon. There's that Shadowshackle at work. Probably should drop another one soon. That one will probably disappear. Yep, see, there it goes. Now, we still have another Hellhound left. You'll see that I probably will use Ricochet Hunter to kill it if it's behind the dragon, because if it gets stuck behind the dragon's corpse, we can't shoot through it. So I'll use Ricochet Hunter to make sure that our arrow goes through the corpse. If you watch the first no-hit attempt on this configuration, this run, you'll have seen me shoot the dragon like 3 times trying to hit the 2 Hellhounds on the other side. So Ricochet Hunter deals with that instead. We're buffing here, 1, because it's good to, but 2, the Ward of Regret can have ghosts here. I think 4 ghosts, 2 whites, 2 wraiths, 2 specters. So we want to make sure they're dead. They don't spawn until you get around the corner, really, so... I mean by around the corner, I mean into that cell that we jumped over the wall. We got ghosts, that means we have living armor down below. Pretty easy in this narrow corridor. This is me seeing if there's any bats in this area, because in pre-Daemon there are bats on your way back. But I don't believe that's a thing in post-Daemon. There are some in here though, so we can shoot this. I shoot a second Ricochet Hunter there because I have had it where the first Ricochet Hunter does not hit all the bats, then we start going into the tunnel and get knocked. Not fun. A pretty easy room. You see me back up here? That's so that when you first enter and one of those guys spawns, they aren't aware of you, or in a combat stance at least, until they're like fully out. So we could back up and use Ricochet Hunter to get the preemption bonus damage still, even though, you know, we got really close, which typically would prevent us from having it. Just waiting for our stamina to go up. We can have a Frostworm right on the entrance here, and if we do, we need to kill it as quick as possible. The arena is quite small to deal with the Frostworm, and we can't climb to avoid it either. So we need to have good stamina and a full buff so that we make sure we murder it before we have trouble. We do not get the Frostworm, however. Instead, we have the Prisoner or Condemned Gore Cyclops, which is much easier. We just stand back here and shoot it. He can't reach us. Fortunately, as a Magick Archer, we do incredible damage to this guy. Even without hitting its critical points, but the reason we fight it in here instead of going up is because going up the tower has corrupt pawns of various vocations, and we want to avoid them until this guy's dead. Now, for the most part, pawns aren't particularly dangerous to us. However, I don't often go into these rooms, so I don't know specifically which pawns are here and what they may or may not do. So you'll see I'm a little bit nervous about going through here. This is only our second attempt, and the first attempt we did not have this configuration, so I didn't get to test and see what happens. Fortunately, Ricochet Hunter's very nice, and they spawn high enough above us that they have to kind of move before they do anything. Fortunately, we had no ranger or sorcerer or strider pawns that were keen to just shoot at us with their ranged abilities, so we kind of get through without any real stress. This is me answering a question. Someone asked how many times it took me to get the Blackwing Bow, and the way I farmed level 3 weapons was to kill Daimon. There it said I had some 71 Daimon kills on this character. I have about 35 weapon 3 armaments in my inventory. We don't always get the weapon 3 when we kill him, because I don't care if I get rift crystals from there. So, I don't know, probably around 15. Which when it takes you only a couple minutes to kill Daimon if you just take the shortcut from after Bishop every time. It's not very long. I think it only took us like 2 days of trying to get it. Alright, returning to Duskmoon Tower, we can actually get a cursed dragon that spawns here. So we need to be a little bit cautious and paying attention as to what's in front of us. It looks like we're safe, so we can just move on to the, what, Vault of Defiled Truth? Yeah. Two configurations. We can either have the Cockatrice, which will have cursed pawn or corrupted pawns, or we can have the Gore Cyclops, which will have largely goblins. A couple sirens are really the scariest part. We want the Cockatrice, even though cursed pawns or corrupted pawns are far more dangerous as far as the no-hit run goes. They are much easier to clean out, and the random spawn we can get is death. Gore Cyclops has Garm. Garm can spawn in one of two places. One of them is very stressful in comparison. We can hear the wing flaps. That means we got Cockatrice. We are happy about that. Now, if I have the Gore Cyclops, we will actually take a left here and go to wrap around. But because we have the corrupted pawns, we need to go up here, because there are 3 ranger pawns that are up on these balconies that we need to kill. We can't really peek out to kill them because they are very good at hitting you. So we're just gonna Ricochet. We're gonna watch our experience drops to make sure we get it. That's the goblin that's up here, or hobgoblin rather. There's one. Nope. Don't want any of that. There's 2. And that might have been the 3rd one there as well. I'm gonna peek out because I thought I saw the experience drop. Yep, we did. Little boulder look. Yeah, we're good. Cockatrice. Fire is very effective against it because it'll catch fire, it'll fall to the ground and panic. But it's actually weak to lightning damage. So as a Magick Archer, we do a lot of damage with lightning, so we opt to use Ricochet Hunter. It's just better damage than using fire, especially since we can't explode the rivets. The remaining corrupted pawns are all going to be either fighters or warriors. I don't really remember. That one was a fighter. Maybe they're all fighters. They're all melee is the point, so we're not really scared of them. Even unbuffed, we do great damage. We're gonna Ricochet Hunter these Goblin Shamans for 2 reasons. One, it'll deal damage to all of them, but the more important thing is even if it didn't do damage to them, if they get hit by, I want to say 3 or 2 of the bounces, they will get staggered and bounce in the air, which interrupts their cast. So even if Ricochet Hunter did no damage, it would be valuable. 2 Eliminators. And we should just have 1 corrupted pawn left, 2 apparently. Again, pretty easy. They're in melee. We can get them long before they reach us. Gutter of Misery, 2 configurations, Undead or Saurian. We prefer Saurian. And we got it, because there would be a undead that spawns right here. The reason we prefer Saurian is once we get to the sewer portion of the Gutter of Misery, the Saurian configuration will have eliminators with the Grim Goblins. The undead configuration has corrupted pawns, but it'll have sorcerers and it'll have striders, and both of them will just use regular basic attacks. So sorcerers will use arrows. Or sorry, striders will use arrows, sorcerers will use just the regular magic bolt attack. Basically your light attack with the staff. A lot of times they will hit you as you're coming around corners and stuff, because we just don't kill all of them quickly enough. And I've had many a run die that way, so we're quite happy to have this configuration. We can also have an Elder Ogre spawn in this configuration, which is partially why I buffed it first. If Elder Ogre spawns, I don't want my buff to go away. And there she is. Shrine of Futile Truths. Pretty easy gazer fight. Buff up, obviously. What we're going to do is we're going to shear off the tentacles on its head. When we do that, it interrupts its cast, it staggers it briefly, and if we knock off enough, I don't know the specific number, if we knock off enough, it will fall to the ground and we can shoot the eye. You will see me use a couple Ricochet Hunters to shear off some of the tentacles. The reason I do that is because sometimes they'll be on like the other side of its carapace, and you just can't get your shot to hit it effectively. For instance here, that one we probably could have shot, but the one down there we wouldn't have been able to hit without Ricochet Hunter. But you see Ricochet Hunter, it keeps going through his body, it doesn't stop. And as you can see, it's interrupting him every time. That's a knockdown. We just shoot the eye. Each hit does about 110% damage. Takes about 10 shots or so. We have plenty of time to make that happen. Now, Fortress of Remembrance, 2 configurations. One, which is the scary one, has Saurian and Wraiths right at the, or not Saurian, Strigoi and Wraiths right at the beginning. This is scary because the Strigoi, the first one, kind of floats up the stairs, and if we miss the shot immediately, we get hit. That's not true. If we miss the shot, it's easy for us to get hit because it's hard for us to get the shot off again to kill it. The other configuration has Undead. We prefer that one because it's much easier. We can engage them from range, and then we can set up the rest of our encounters. You'll see me prep a Sixfold just for that specific Strigoi. He is not there, as we could see over the balcony. We couldn't see the one roosting. Sixfold, fortunately, works great on these guys with the preemption damage and how many times we hit them. Six wargs will spawn right here, so you'll see me place 2 Shadowshackles to cover the entire bridge. I will run forward, I'll make a little loop, run back. That's to get them to spawn and chase me. And Elder Ogre spawned again. I actually like when it spawns here. It's a little bit more convenient because you can kill it very quickly. It generally will not move towards you because you're far enough away. The other location at the bottom of the tower is not really any more difficult, but there's significantly fewer concerns with the configuration we just got. Now, I shoot these guys from over here so that I don't have to deal with them up close. The reason I deal with them from this distance is so that I can use preemption bonus damage the whole time. For whatever reason, one of the poisoned undead is not showing up. But we'll kill one of them before we enter the Pilgrim's Gauntlet. Now, Pilgrim's Gauntlet, two configurations again. One has Fire Drake with a bunch of Wraiths. Another one has 2 Golems. Fire Drake with Wraiths is probably easier, I guess. The Golems are a little bit more stressful because we can dodge their attack but still get staggered. With 2 of them, the laser is a problem. Additionally, we have to climb on them in order to get hits off. So there's a few things that are a little bit more troublesome, whereas with the dragon, we can literally just shoot it from the balcony above. Same with the wraiths. I believe this is the configuration that has golems. If you saw the other video where I made the first attempt of this run on this full room, if you watched the double golem fight, this one will be quicker. Because the first one we did was much longer because I didn't know how much damage I can put out on one of them before the other got to join the fray. And you have a decent window of time, so our objective is going to be break as many medallions as possible before the second one actually gets ready to attack. I like to start with the back medallion because it'll knock it down. So long as it isn't the medallion that freezes it, I will always kill this one first. If it is the one that freezes it, I usually won't, just because having it be enraged after the fact is not good for me. The second one's being very generous with this time. We were able to get 3 medallions. I don't really want to break that leg yet. That would not be good for me. Ideally, I would knock the chest second here, then possibly the leg. The hand wouldn't be a bad one either. The golem fights are one of my favorites in the game, assuming you have the damage, because it is fun seeing which medallion ends up being the extra special one, and strategizing how you're going to deal with the sequence that you choose. So the reason we broke that medallion is because we got the shot off on the other one while it was doing its laser. It's still knocked down. It's probably climbing up right now, but we have plenty of time to get over to this hand, so long as it doesn't do something crazy. And we made it. 1 down, 1 to go. 1 golem is pretty easy. 2 golem is stressful. Now that we've only got 1 golem, we're pretty happy, especially since we just got that knockdown. We can really start wailing on him. I was hoping to get that chest since I had him in a crouch like that. I will probably go to his back next because I know it's not the special medallion and it'll knock him down, which will give me access to his foot, his shoulder again. If you break the one in the middle of his chest while he's standing, he typically will fall backwards. I say he, it's probably not a he, it's an it really. If you break the one on its back, it will fall the other direction. It'll fall forward. This is a bit unfortunate. I was hoping to break the chest without breaking its knee. It's tricky to hit just one. We failed, so you'll see me back up because I want none of it, because he's gonna stand up. When he stands back up, he will explode. That was me debating whether I wanted to Shadowshackle to see if it topors him. On bigger enemies that can't actually get caught in Shadowshackle, it will often do a slight topor effect while they're still in the shackle, which is helpful. Not that helpful though. I wasn't sure, wanted to test. It doesn't look like it did anything on this guy, which makes sense. He's resistant to magic, right? It's not like we're gonna catch him on fire or freeze him or any of that stuff. So that was worth checking out while we had the time. At this point, he's enraged. I want nothing to do with him because he's so fast. It's going to be hard for me to stay away from him, to dodge his attacks. What I want to do is keep distance so that I can dodge if I need to. And then if he does his laser, I want to shoot him in the face because it interrupts it. He's no longer enraged. We waited it out. It's very nice. The ideal play for me would be to shoot him in the face so that he falls over and then get the hand on the wake up, but it's okay. If I had just been patient, we probably could have gotten that hit. But I am not being patient. I just want it to end. There we go. I decided the best course of action was just to hit him. In watching me play, you will probably realize I am not the best climber. I do not know how people do it. But I make do. Returning to the Fortress of Remembrance, we had the undead configuration. So we're going to have undead on the balcony or the walkway that leads to the Black Abbey. We also already had an Elder Ogre, so we shouldn't have to worry about that. This guy is visible now. We're gonna buff up because we're only gonna get preemption damage for pretty much our first attack, maybe our second one if we're really far away and he's slow on the uptake. Magick Rebalancer allows us to get the most out of it, especially on enemies like this that have really high defense. Without Magick Rebalancer, it takes a lot longer than that. I dropped down this way because you can have a Banshee and a Stout Undead spawn right there, but they often don't spawn on time, and they'll sometimes spawn like as you're passing them, and you'll just get stuck on their body, but you can't see them, and it's really weird. So I usually go that way I don't have that interaction. If they spawn, I can turn and hit them. If they don't spawn, I just move along. You saw the path I took in the last room there of the tower was perfectly bisecting the two haystacks. That helps us avoid the leapworms, because the leapworms we can't really shoot until we get close enough to them for them to be active. If we bisect the haystacks, they don't jump out, and we can just kind of move along without dealing with them at all. You'll see if there's a way for me to manipulate an enemy, I will often choose to take it. I find enemy manipulation to be extremely satisfying. So avoiding them from even existing is really awesome, as far as I'm concerned. Tower of Treason's repaid 2 configurations. We can have a Strigoi with 13 succubi, or we can have a slew of Banshees with Sorcerer Skeletons. The Sorcerer Skeletons, a little bit more hectic to start because we have to dodge magic, but it's pretty easy. And then the Banshees, we can kill all except for one before they even enter combat. The Succubi with the Strigoi is less favorable just because of how slow it is, and it's what we get. So for safety, we run behind this cage. Even if a Succubi gets to the other side of those bars and does her like shriek breath attack, it won't hit us. While I'm doing this room, I'm going to count each time I get an experience drop so that I know how many Succubi I have left. That was 2 on the first one if you weren't looking. I don't know if I'll count them here. 3, 4. I guess I will. But if you keep track of how many you killed, you know when you can move out. There's 5, 6. The biggest fear we have is that one of them will fly into the room with us, but even then we can usually still get it before it does anything. That's 7, 8. Nine, 10. $11. 12, 13. The Strigoi you see is in that cage. After a certain point in time, it will always roost into that cage so long as you haven't like hit it with a Ricochet or something like that. So you can often just use a Sixfold to knock it down. These medallions, pretty easy to hit. As a Dagger's Vocation, they're very convenient. Just don't do the kicks on this one. I keep messing that up because I'm so used to the kicks. Kicks actually do more damage because they do bludgeoning damage on the kick, which is why when we can, we'll use it. This one we can't reach with the daggers at all. We have to hit it with the kicks. Although you can't see me, that was me using the kick combo. I think that one's called Engrave. The other one's called Roundlay. I will now switch to the Rose Ring. The Rose Ring prevents us from catching fire. We need that to get that one that's below us in the fire, because if we don't, we'll catch fire and take hits. If we wear the Rose Ring, we can't catch fire. We avoid it. Yeah, did you see how much damage difference there was between the kicks versus the regular sword or dagger strikes? That's why we choose to go that route. This guy's kind of in a weird spot. I don't want him right next to that, so I'll probably try and bait him away. It looks like I do. Nice. And then I'll hit. Ideally, what I want him to do is try and laser me so I can shoot him in the face. But he's going a little nuts. So we're gonna go in here. Of course he shoots at me the moment I come in here. Missed our opportunity to shoot to hit the last medallion, but that's okay. There we go. So the fire is safe in certain areas. Like you can stand on the actual flames in front of and to the left of that medallion and you can't catch fire, but if you step forward just a little bit, you do. For the most part, we're gonna avoid stepping in the bad, but the Rose Ring just hedges the bet so that we don't have to worry about it. Forsaken Cathedral, 2 configurations. Both of them have Goblin Shamans, but one will have them accompanied by Vile Eyes, the other with Saurian. We prefer Vile Eyes. We got Saurian. The reason we prefer Vile Eyes is in the final room of the Forsaken Cathedral before Dark Bishop, it will have Mage Corrupted Pawns as well as more Goblin Shamans. None of them can really hit us. Ricochet Hunter will kill just about anything before it gets a cast off, and then the Mage Pawns will only either use debilitation spells or heals. So they are not a threat at all. The Saurian configuration ends with, what are they called? Geosaurian, Giant Geosaurian, along with Wraiths. The Wraiths are what concern us. They can fly up. There's a way we can kind of manipulate it so they don't actually do that. And it's pretty consistent, so like really neither configuration's scary, but this one has the only one that has chances for it to be bad. You'll see me dip in and dip out of here. When you dip back here, their positions reset. So if you have a Ricochet active while you dip in, the Wraiths will reset their positions and you can hit them with the Ricochet. If you don't, oftentimes one will dash up to where you are and you have to evade it, and then it'll be behind you, and it's usually still easy to avoid damage, but it's hectic. Dark Bishop fight. Pretty easy. We're going to silence him. But first we're going to Magic Rebalancer up out here, because if I do it in the hall, a lot of time the Bishop will wander into the hall and he'll float up into the ceiling, and I can't hit him if his like hat is in the ceiling because just the hitbox gets weird. Now you'll see me keep shooting him with the bow until the next spell comes out. It's a habit I have to give us the maximum opportunity time to get the silence off. Realistically, I could have done it after that angle. I had plenty of time. It takes like 9 or 10 shots with the golden claw. So pretty effective, pretty quick. And he should be silenced for the duration of the run. Dark Bishop can only cast a couple different spells. If he's casting anything while floating up, he's casting Execute underneath you. Or he's going to do the red Seeker Bolts, but that one has the red cloud around him, so you'll see it. If he floats to the ground, it means he's actually casting whatever spell he's doing. Black spell will be a Petrification Cloud, typically. A gold spell, or yellow or whatever, will be a holy-looking spell, will be Furor. Furor is by far the most dangerous spell he has. When he gets low health, he can do other spells as well. The one he was trying to cast at the bottom there was Maelstrom, actually. Typically, you want to try and burst him down if you get him below, like, 4 health bars remaining. Rotwood Depository. 2 configurations. Saurian or Wraiths at the beginning. We want Saurian just because Wraiths are always scary because they can dash at you. They make things much more stressful. We have Saurian. I could tell because of the sound, but more importantly, I could tell because if you have the Wraith configuration, there's also Silver Knights, and you can hear their bones like animating before you can tell what's going on. We didn't hear the bones animating, so we knew that they were not present, which meant no ghosts. There's going to be 2 Saurian Sages and then 2 Goblin Shamans. We can kill the Goblin Shamans before we get in here, and then I like to Ricochet Hunter these 4 Skeleton Sorcerers, just because they can cast Ingles, Levins, Frazzles. We don't want any of it. Now, this part is the most difficult part, usually. We got really lucky there, and our Ricochet Hunters actually got the Shamans and the Sages, so that was convenient. A lot of times you will only get all of the Saurian Sages and not all of the Goblins, and you have to kind of like dodge roll in that narrow hallway. I don't often try and dodge roll into the room because, as it happened this time, the Elder Ogre spawned, and we don't want to have to kill mages while also trying to contend with a Elder Ogre that's beating us up. Worked out that time. We got kind of lucky on our favorable bounces with Ricochet Hunter, though. Here we're going to let our stamina recover. We want high stamina here because, one, we want to have a fully buffed Magick Rebalancer before going into the next room with stamina on top of it, because in some of the configurations we can have Garm already spawned into the room when we enter, and if they do that, we need to blow them up as quick as possible before they catch wise. What's nice about that configuration is you can usually kill 1 with preemption damage immediately, often 2, and then you really only have 1 to contend with, and it makes it fairly easy, but we still want to have the best setup possible. Alternatively, we could have Death in there on spawn. That one's less common in my experience. But the standard configurations are either going to be Gold and Silver Knights or 2 Liches with Hellhounds. We got Gold and Silver Knights. This means we can still get Garm, but it means that they will be spawning, in all likelihood, down below where the prisoner Cyclops are, if they spawn at all. Now this configuration will also have 2 Eliminators down here, but 3 Sirens. We want to kill the Sirens before we enter combat, just because they are what has any chance of hitting us. 1, 2, 3. As a Magick Archer, it's really easy to kill them, simply because we can aim for them with little difficulty, because it highlights them for us. I don't generally attack these guys, but because we accidentally aggroed this one, we will kill it. And he went down pretty quick. Now this configuration has spiders. One Ricochet Hunter, they all die. Pretty convenient. We also have Garm, like I said before. It looks like I'm going to forget that, though. Yep, I'm going to forget that right here. And I'm reminded. What's nice about this is we actually killed that prisoner, condemned, Cyclops, whatever it's called. So we can just shoot a Ricochet Hunter out into the open there, and we're not too worried about it aggroing that at the same time as these Garm. Oftentimes, if I haven't killed that, you'll see me retreat into this hallway, and if I do shoot them out there, I'll just use the regular basic attack, the light attack. Now we've lost our buff, so we should start buffing again. That was a bit of an interesting Ricochet Hunter, considering we know that those bolts are likely to ricochet to that prisoner Cyclops, and we don't really want to fight him. So you'll see me shoot with just regular bolts. I'm surprised we didn't buff. They would have made this much quicker, but that's okay. We do pretty good damage. Looks like we do close to like 22% per shot, 22% of a health bar, somewhere around there. Before the end, we have a couple leap worms. You'll see me sprint past them, then turn around and shoot. They are not active until you run past them, so you can't try and Ricochet Hunter first. I mean, you can Ricochet Hunter and then sprint past them, which will kill many of them, but usually it'll leave 1 or 2 alive. So it's just easier to just run past and then do it. You'll see me also Ricochet Hunter over here. We're gonna take the route around here, kill the spiders. I don't go through the other way because there's leap worms that fall from the ceiling, but they sometimes despawn and then they'll respawn again, and it's kind of buggy in my game, so I usually just avoid it if I can. We're gonna buff up here because there is a Lich configuration that we want to kill immediately if we have it, because if we have it, he will fly into the ceiling and become invulnerable, kind of like Dark Bishop can, and if he goes in that hallway. We want to one-shot him on spawn. And we failed to do so. See, now he's invulnerable. For some reason. It's just how the game chooses. And we got him before he spawned all the ads, so we're happy with that. That means we're going to have, because we had the white with the... It's not a Lich, it's a white. Because we got the white with the Spectres, we're going to have living armor with 2 Vile Eyes on either side of this canal here. Yeah. The alternative configuration had mage pawns with Cyclops, like Grancis level Cyclops. That also has Gore Cyclops down here with Vile Eyes. Either configuration down here is fine. It's really just the white that we care about. It's just annoying. The white also has a unique lightning spell where it shoots like a bolt of lightning at you very quickly, like in a line. And that one can be troublesome because it'll... I don't know where the hell did it go? I don't know. I guess I gave up in gameplay as well. But anyway, the bolt's really fast. It kind of reminds me of like Daimon's icicle swipe that it'll do at you, in a sense of how fast it is. So it's sometimes tricky to dodge because you're not used to dodging moves quite so quick, especially from a caster. Inspired Scant Mercy. 3 configurations. The one we prefer to have is double Fire Drake. If not double Fire Drake, 1 Fire, 1 Frost. Worm. 2 Frost Worms is the worst configuration we could have, although we've managed to get it perfect before. It's just much more careful you have to play. And we get double fire. If we can, I like to shoot the one that knows that we're there first, because he'll always take wing first. And it looks like we got the setup where the second one didn't really catch wise of us. So he's just like down there trying to walk into position. He'll just continuously walk into position forever. And we can fight one at a time. We don't really need to fight one at a time. In fact, it's a little bit slower, but speed isn't the name of the game on the no-hit run. It's safety. So this gives us everything we want in regards to that. So we'll just use our Sixfold bolts. We'll Magick Rebalancer when necessary. You'll notice I don't really move around a whole lot. I want him to continuously fly up and down in the same spot. So if I move, he'll kind of adjust his flight path. I want him to stay where he is because it's working. There, I moved over just a little bit because he landed on that ledge. I don't want him to do that. Yeah, you see that one marching over there, trying to get into position still. The fact that he's down there still means we can have time to Magick Rebalancer again, just to make sure that we have maximum uptime on it. There's no reason to let it drop off. There's no reason not to be fully buffed, since it'll take probably the duration of an entire one to kill it. Well, actually, probably not. In this position, it likes to like stay right here. We can shoot it with Sixfolds far more efficiently than we could from the other position. You see me go onto this balcony here. I want him to move as far out as possible. So climbing onto that balcony actually puts him a little bit further away. Breaking that crate was not just to have something to do for the second. It's because if I need to back away, if I roll off of this ledge backwards because I'm trying to avoid something, I want to be able to... I'm jumping to avoid the stagger. We have stability augment, so we actually don't get the stagger, but it's a habit. Oh well. But yeah, if I rolled away like that, we can sometimes grab onto the ledge and it messes us up. The ledge of the crate, I mean. So I like to break the crate. I have been burned by getting caught by holding onto the crate before, so we just avoid it now by breaking it. Pretty easy as Magick Archer to deal with 2 fire drakes in the same room. I wish we had a fire frost fight for this run because it's much more interesting in my opinion. The frost worm, we have to evade the frost aura when we explode the when we explode our explosive rivets, and it adds like another element to the fight. So 2 configurations, Eliminators with 2 Wyverns, Grance's level, or Living Armor with 1 Thunder Wyvern. We got the singular. I'm just standing there until it resets, because if I get too close, he can see us and he'll start casting when he roosts. This way, if he resets like that, I can move forward without him really being an issue at all. Because we got living armor, there's only 3 living armor, which is nice. Because if we got eliminators, there's like 8 eliminators or something like that. And in this vocation, killing an eliminator or a living armor is just about as tedious as the other. So 3 versus 8 is pretty nice. Again, there's only 1 dragon, which is also nice. Even though the dragon's a little bit more stout, a little more healthy, a little more hardy. Having only 1 we need to be concerned about manipulating is preferred. So this is definitely the preferred configuration for us. We've killed all 3 living armors. We're gonna come up here to deal with the dragon. The dragon roosts when there's 2 of them. They roost on the rooftop here, and then on the far side, way over there. When there's only 1, he roosts in the little courtyard on the other side of the building that we're about to jump to, most likely. This is probably me responding to something in Twitch chat. I apologize for just standing there. We do live stream these runs, so be sure to pop in. We stream every weekday, 10:30 Eastern, for about 6 hours or so. The reason I ran to that roof and jumped back is because going to the other roof aggroes him. The reason I jumped back is because we can manipulate so that he lands on the roof across from us, which is pretty much the best location because the angle, because it's a sloped roof, it gives us a really good angle for hitting his heart, because he'll be both below us and far enough away, and it's pretty convenient. We can usually get the shots around his head very nicely. We've kind of messed up our setup anyway, which is unfortunate, but fortunately he's a pretty easy fight regardless, so it's not too troublesome. If he falls down there, it's not too bad either. It's just a little bit more finicky, trying to hit the heart. And we have to move a lot more before we can start taking shots. But our goal here is just to knock him down like that and shoot his heart. We could use explosive rivets while he's on the ground, and they would do good damage, even if we don't explode them. But with how likely it is that we miss the heart, it's just kind of not worth it. Because we could shoot... If I shoot explosive rivet and I miss his heart, I could have shot 3 times with a regular shot and adjusted my shot each time to make sure we hit it. So it's just not worth it, in my opinion. Last 3 eliminators, I will use a light attack, sixfold light attack combo usually to pull 1 at a time while doing good damage. It'll usually kill them. If I had hesitated a little bit between the shots, I would have only had 1 eliminator come. But because they are eliminators, they die pretty easy at that range. So it's not really an issue. We can take on all 3 at the same time if we really wanted to. Daimon. Daimon's pretty easy as a Magick Archer. We're just going to buff with Magick Rebalancer and then just shoot him with regular light attacks with our bow. you will see me rotate anti-clockwise around him. That does two things. One, it has us moving in the opposite direction. It has us moving to his left side, which is the opposite side that he will try to grab us from if he attempts to do his grab. The other thing is that it prevents him from doing a lot of his attacks, because for his punches and his grab and a number of other attacks he wants to be in front of you, or he wants you to be in front of him. And so he'll do that. He'll turn just like he did there before he does anything. And if we have a moment where he does a turn instead of doing an attack, that's just extra DPS. Now at 2.5 health bars missing, and this is true for both regular Daimon as well as awakened form, but at 2.5 health bars missing, he will always start thinking about going to the center to do Soul Vortex like he is now. When he is missing 3 health bars, he will do it. If he is currently under duress because you're shooting him and doing a good amount of damage, he might do one attack. Usually it's going to be that corkscrew flight punch move. But after he does that move, he will immediately Soul Vortex. Knowing that, we're going to get around Rebel so that we can avoid the stamina damage on the Soul Vortex. Because if we lose stamina on the Soul Vortex, we count that as a hit. Phase 2 is easier than Phase 1 in my opinion. The way Magick Archer works, just specifically for Magick Archer. The reason for that is the way Magick Archer works is your bolts home towards center of mass. In Daimon's first form, center of mass is his chest, which is not a weak point. In Daimon's second form, it's his chest, which has a face on it, which is a weak point. So we actually do, even though he's got better health and defenses in Phase 2, we actually do a little bit more damage in general per shot. Not much more, but a little bit. But a little bit stacking up over a course of 30, 40 shots is considerable. We're gonna buff here at the beginning. I don't want to buff too early because I want him to try casting at me. Combustion's pretty much the scariest move for me because I can't see him. This is him trying to grab us. We can just outrange it. Unfortunately, that move is the easiest move to stagger him out of it, so we could have actually gotten some nice hits in with that move, and I would have been quite happy. But buffing's important. The reason we buffed is because we had a really awkward angle for Phase 1 when he did Soul Vortex, so we weren't doing as much DPS as possible because we weren't able to hit him in his head. A lot of times we can manipulate our angle to hit him in the head during his Soul Vortex. We did not succeed there, so we had less... it took us longer to kill him, which means we had less of the remaining duration on our Magick Bouncer. So we buffed before we lowered his health to 2.5 so that we didn't have to buff during this phase, which is our best DPS phase. And it seems to have been worth it because we killed him as he was ending the first part of the Soul Vortex. He didn't even get to enter his defensive curl. And with that, we are done. You know, we had a pretty clean run there. I don't even think we had too many stressful moments. In fact, usually we have a couple stressful moments, but that one was just pretty clean. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys found this helpful, informative perhaps, if you're interested in just getting through Bitterblack nicely or even doing your own no-hits. Be sure to check out my stream. As I said before, I stream Monday through Friday, 10:30 Eastern Time. We play Dragon's Dogma. Right now we are in the process of leveling up a Sorcerer. That's going to be Sorcerer all the way. To do no-hits again. So we'll be making those videos soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.